What's up? Welcome back to the Barcode Collective podcast. I think we're going to keep this one short and sweet, and we're going to call this a Coach's Corner, Trainer Tips Tuesday, something along those lines. Got Coach Ivan Barrera with me, the transformation expert.
Yes, sir.
What's good, brother?
Good, man. I'm good and blessed. Thank you for having me here, brother.
It's been a while. Had you early on in the podcast, you and Frankie, Coach Fast Hands.
That's right.
So a lot has changed, man, since we've last talked over at Faster Fitness. You're the owner, operator, coach, trainer over at Faster Fitness, which we all know. A lot of these conversations lately have been about COVID, about what we're doing as business owners to survive and continue to show up for our customers and clients, and ultimately keep the lights on. So, what have you been doing, man? What have you been up to?
This conversation's so different than the last one we had.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Seems like those were better times, but no, man. This whole COVID thing. I mean, I think just because I'm in the industry, I see a lot of people. I'm pretty well connected with a lot of people across the U.S., and you tend to see kind of like, unfortunately, some people just shutting down for good.
Yeah.
You see some people losing 50, 75% of revenue, and it's heartbreaking, man. And I know it's not just us, it's a ton of industries, just in the business world. We just got beat up, man. But now we're 6 months into this pandemic.
It's insane, man, how long this has been going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, the goal is to, number one, it's never changed. It's always to continue to inspire and empower our clients at the gym, and then whatever way that looks like, virtually, in person, that's always the goal. And I had to remind myself and my team that at all times, it's always about them.
Yeah.
So I think we were pretty successful at doing that. Obviously, we're rolling with the punches still. I'm not saying that we didn't fall victim into what COVID brought, because we definitely dropped about 50% of revenue and then slowly climbing back up now that we're able to be open. But yeah, man, that was a big hit. But, just like any piece of adversity that happens in your life, you got to just stay focused on one thing. Some center in your life, some vision, it's like, all right, why are we doing this? What are we going to do to come out of this? And you just need that one motivating factor.
Yeah. What is that for you?
For me, it's just my people, man. Like, I think I've talked to you a lot about like just how close we are, close-knit group at that gym, man. Like, we've had some members there since day one.
Yeah.
When I was at a park and before I had the business, like, I had people still there. So for me, the cornerstone of that business and our core values, everything is just about the people. So it's like day one, we had zero virtual, training, no online options. So it's like day one when COVID happened, like, all right, what the hell are we going to do? And, me and Frankie, like, we stayed up till 4 or 5 in the morning just thinking about like, what's the virtual going to look like? And then we launched the next day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, being crafty, but for me, it was the people. That was a motivating factor for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and you can see how, I think this is probably why a lot of businesses ultimately closed down. Even some of these bigger brands ended up closing down because they're not necessarily there for the people. They're there for the money. And as soon as these things that are out of your control that really affect your money, you're out, because your thing was money. When your thing is something bigger than that, or the people involved at your gym, you're going to continue to show up. Yes, it's harder without that money coming in, because we can't lie to anybody. We can't lie to ourselves that it's all about the people that by itself. Otherwise, we all be doing this shit for free.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But that it does take precedence. That does give you something to focus on outside of some bullshit, superficial money, to continue to show up. And, like we were talking before we jumped on the mic, one of my things is on just more of a personal front, and why I'm continuing to grind this out is because I know life is such a journey, and that I'm not done right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to look back and we're going to tell these stories. Mm-hmm. And I sure as hell ain't trying to sit down, in front of my grandchildren and be like, yeah, man, when, adversity really hit and money went all the way, grandpa ran away, grandpa quit,
right.
Because it's, hell no, like, we don't know how this is going to end. You know what I mean? But who knows what businesses are going to be left over for us at the end of this. Mm-hmm. But at least in that moment in time, I'm going to be able to say that I toughed it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did everything that I could within my capacity to make it happen.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing is like, you know, not having that quitting mentality and just like, you know, getting past this adversity. I mean, until you get to a point where, you know, you've have seen all your options and weighed everything out. And if it makes sense to let it go, you let it go.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that, dude, because I mean, I'm kind of right there, you know, so like you were telling me how, you know, when during the shutdown, you guys invested a shit ton of money into a remodel. And we all know, or at least you do, I do, like we know about our biases, like we embrace our biases as humans, our biases as individuals. Like, I think you have a good idea about the things that you do. So this is one that in general humans tend to do. Like when you're invested in something, you become blinded to that investment and you end up just putting yourself more and more in a hole, especially with entrepreneurs like us, where we think that we're just inherently optimistic. We think we can do this. So not only did we throw this money in there, we don't know when to we don't know when to quit. Right. So it's like, I've been battling with that.
Yeah.
Largely here at Spacebar, because similar to you, like a lot of money has gone into this.
Yeah.
For the first time, taking other people's money to put into this, you know, bringing on some investments, you know, some private investment in it, and that money's out there. So now I'm battling with that, and you know, I try to get ahead of those conversations. But I mean, our revenue, we're 30,000 short of where we need to be to break even. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's
it gets scary, man. It gets scary, but I mean, like, so just so I have some, you know, because I follow you and everything that you do. Where were you with this place, like when the pandemic first started?
Yeah, so we opened January. So in like this whole, but one thing that COVID does do, it shines a light on things that were problems to begin with. Yeah. So we were already up against it. You know, like I did one of my last podcasts where I took a little break, I think in October. And that podcast was just like, what the fuck do I do? You know, like I have no idea how we're going to be able to fund the rest of this construction. You know, this was October. We obviously opened in January. So I was like already at my wit's end with just that whole process of construction. You know, the money that we thought we thought we were going to be left over with $200K of working capital to get us through, all gone. So getting to that finish line was crazy. I got there. I took a $30,000 personal loan at the very end of it to get us there, and then to have a little bit of money in the bank in order to kind of get going. But again, that, you know, I was telling you, you know, 20, 25K in payroll, that isn't going to last long. Yeah. So when we got open, it was just like grinding to get there. And also, funding it through our other businesses, my brother, Daniel, Andrew, and, you know, we all were making this happen, but that's how bad it was. Yeah. So now we get open and then, you know, get a little momentum, a little bit of money in the door, but again, nowhere touching anywhere we need to, and then boom, closed. Yeah. You know, so it was like, I think all in, we were in like maybe 600K in construction and all that shit. So when we're talking about potentially walking away from something, that's what you're walking away with. And like, how right have you gotten in your head with that? I feel like I'm right with that. Yeah. Almost. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we can do that. Again, taking on somebody else's investment, that weighs on me a little bit.
That's a whole different thing.
Even more so, this 30K personal loan, the guy that I took that from, I want to make sure that's taken care of. So it's like these things that are in this business don't just stop here. No. You don't just walk away with that. No. The type of person that I am, like, okay, fuck. How do I get this person their money back? And now I have to carry that with me as I try to figure out what's next. Because it's not bankruptcy, sorry, you don't get your money. That's not how it works, for me at least. Yeah. So not to say that's going to happen, but we can't just be over here positive thinkers. That doesn't really just work to be blinded by positivity when these are real issues. So that's kind of my scenario and trying to wrap my mind around it. You know, like you said, you invested money during this time. And, you know, now we're open. And again, it's like,
you want to see the potential of like what you work so hard with, fucking all the money you put into this. Like, you want to see the potential of like what it can do for people. Because obviously, you know, if you're taking that much investment and putting in that much investment, you know, from your money, investors' money, like you have to obviously believe in this.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why when we talk about walking away, it's not that simple. Because you haven't even had an opportunity to weigh up all your options. You know, you still haven't had 1,000, 10,000 people walk in this place.
Yeah.
You know, because then that would be sad. You know, you want to help them out because you believe that this place can. I took a little tour before this, and it's awesome. It's a great place. So you got to see that. You know, you got to see like, all right, what's the possibility? Because then if you just say, fuck it, I'm out, like you're always going to have that what if, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, those are the things that I'm thinking about. He's like, damn, man, like, okay, we got to this point with all that we've had against us. So I know we can do this, but it's like, okay, what's the next step? Do I go and get another personal loan? Do I go and raise more money? Do I just keep digging that hole? Because really that is what's necessary. And it's just like, it's not necessarily a lack of belief in what we have here and what we have to offer, even just from like the little nuances on how we're going to run this differently than say some other place that does saunas and ice baths or whatever. It's not, do I believe in myself to see it through, you know, beaten down, you know, and yes, still show up and do the work, but it's like definitely some questions of like, why the hell are we doing this? You know, it's like,
I mean, that'd be kind of idiotic if you didn't kind of think those thoughts, right? Like, cause then that's thinking of you as a whole person, right? And seeing different kinds of ways that you will, you know, move past this or handle these things. And like, you know, I think having this conversation, I think back, obviously, I think you are, like I am, a pretty big Gary Vee fan, right? And I've heard him say like, oh, people say entrepreneurship is cool. You know, definitely anybody could get into business or whatever the case may be. And it's like, fuck that. Like, you know, you can see clearly, you know, getting into business for yourself and actually saying like, and have the balls of like, I want to be an entrepreneur for myself. And then this shit happens. This is the true test of like what you're made of. This is a true test of like, we talked about culture, you know, versus money. Obviously we're in business because it's for money, but it's because you want to serve. It's, you want to, you know, help more people, at least in our industry, I think. But man, when shit hits the fan, like the way it did, you know, that's a true test of like, all right, how are you going to come out of this? How good are you to get crafty, you know, with all of these different scenarios of being a business owner, you know, handling investments, money getting in, you know, hiccups that don't even compare to COVID, right? Like this is the true test. And I think the businesses that are still remaining, you know, I think it's because either if it's a people business and you have good culture, that's kind of where I feel like we fit in. Like we have a very, very strong culture. It's the reason why our doors are still open. Yeah. You know, and then, we lost half the income, but you know, you have vision. Like that's me, like as a person, I'm somebody, I consider myself a visionary, like for myself and in my business, right? Like I see us coming out of this and even better, which is why I invested a shit ton of money during this pandemic,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, some of the things that are keeping you optimistic, because I can agree on those are the moments that I get, because I'm still super inspired right now. And it's and it's not the fit bar necessarily that inspiration's coming from, or even the space bar. Yes, I want to see what this can become, but there's these new ideas that integrate, and there's threads that run through it all that I'm super excited about, and ultimately know that if I can pull it off, all of this is going to be okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the... I was going to get that COVID out my throat real quick.
Awesome.
So what are some of the things that are keeping you optimistic and, you know, that vision of the future bright?
Yes. So our format at the gym was like a lot of people's in the fitness industry was we were really popular with group training, right? You know, like I feel like we had a really strong program. But the goal is always to try to fit in like 20, 30 people at a time. Obviously that is not the case right now. So, but something that was always in my head was like, all right, how can I serve people on a like much deeper level? Because I took inventory of the type of clients that we had. So we have group training. It's a little lower tiered pricing, and the turnover was high on that service, right? Like, so it took a lot of marketing dollars to get more people in.
That 80-20 probably, man. You probably spend 80% of your time on those people bringing in 20%.
Yeah. So then our different category is like our semi-private and private clients. Like these people are a little higher tiered pricing, right? They get a little more access to us as coaches, just a little more access in general to the gym. Those people stay longer and they pay more, right? Again, this is not a money thing. I mean, obviously we have to have money to keep this business going and get more creative and, you know, produce more programs or whatever the case may be. So my thought process was, how can I get more people like this? How can I serve more people? You know, COVID hit, cool. Like, so we put all of our eggs in the virtual training basket, right? Like, because we had to survive. So we did that overnight, right? Like we had 0 virtual training, options. And then we just created one overnight and improved that, just enough to survive. And then in 2 months in, I remember it was like March, April, May. Yeah, it was May. I was with Frankie, just hanging out at my house, with my fiance and drinking tequila. That's what we were doing. We were just drinking tequila. And it was more so like, all right, I got into my head and I literally remember just taking a piece of paper out, like, okay, I started writing. I ignored everyone that was there and I just started writing like, okay, what can I do to change? Da, 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 da. So I started like just scribbling, writing, and I got clear. And I'm not saying to anyone listening to this that tequila is a pathway to visionary success or anything like that. It's just, it worked for me at the time. I felt inspired. So then I started thinking like, all right, let's build this semi-private model. Like, why don't we just switch our entire model? That's kind of scary, especially through a pandemic, especially when you've lost, a good amount of your income. So what does that look like? I had to redo the entire gym. And the reason why is because we had an open format where we can fit in more people. But now it's like I have a format where they're like kind of pods. Yeah. So we have 8 pods there that are 6 feet apart from each other. And every pod has every possible piece of equipment that you would need so you don't share with anybody else. Has its own sanitation station, right? So everything is very high touch now because you got one coach to these 8 people, and that's group. So our group training turned into small group training, 8 people only. Wait list if you can't make it, and then our semi-private, up to 4 per coach. Every single person has a customized program. So you can be a fat loss client, you're going to have a fat loss program for the next 4 to 12 weeks, whatever that is. Or you can be somebody who's trying to gain more muscle, specific body parts, whatever. Like, we'll put it together a program for you. Very high touch. I've always kind of thought that in the back of my head, high touch, white glove service. Like, I'm all about that. Like, I want you to feel special when you come in here, even more so, and then it's like, who doesn't want to have that kind of experience, But that meant me literally transforming the whole thing, like getting brand new flooring, repainting the gym, getting 8 of everything on gym equipment. And you know how fucking expensive gym equipment is.
And how unavailable shit was.
Oh my God. Yeah. Everything tripled in price. And I just had to say, fuck it. Like, we got to do this. Our whole front lobby changed. It looks beautiful now, I think, and even like little details like the restroom, like everything is touchless in the restroom. You don't touch
a damn thing. You went with that double ply? You got that double ply toilet paper now?
Always. We've always had that. Yeah. So little things like that, man. Then that was about a $60K remodel. But that's the thing, is like, didn't have $60K to invest, in the first place. And now we're losing money by the week, by the month. But it's like, your vision has to outweigh what you're currently going through. Yeah. And the vision that I saw, let's say we pass 2020, which I think like we go past this, we're in 2021. Hopefully the situation is better and we can run business the way we want to on our own terms. I think that our business is going to turn into more of a high touch, more higher end gym, because then we're not in the same conversation as Orange Theories. We're not in the same conversation as F45s, where like the model is to pack it in. That's not what we want to do, So I want to take myself out of that, so I don't have to quote unquote compete, and like we can just do our own thing. And a lot of that means more services. Like all the coaches there got certified in like recovery sessions. So we just get a massage table, manual stretching, things of that nature, where like, we get the massage gun, and we do a little bit of that. Just, it's more of like a relaxing thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't know a whole ton of gyms do it, like maybe, but not like to a grand scale, like the way we want to.
Love it, man. Yeah. We're about that recovery, and getting people, to understand that all the growth happens in the recovery. So doesn't it make sense to get to that parasympathetic state as soon as possible after your workout, before you get into the stressful drive home, whether it's, up on a wall, if your legs up 90-90 and doing some deep belly breathing and long exhales, or stretching or whatever, like, dude, that's what's up. Yeah. So, and, I love it, man, because it is all about the touch point. So, definitely want to talk more about like how you are going to plan on delivering that. But, just kind of thinking about what that model looks like, again, like you having these small groups, 4-to-1 ratio, coach to client, potentially everyone on their own program doing their thing. I mean, just from a scheduling standpoint, where you're going from a team training where these coaches had to be here from this time, not really knowing how many people were going to be booked out. I mean, you could still have, it's almost like office hours now, where, book your session during this time. This is coach's hour. Coach will be here to help you with that.
Yeah.
Or you can even have a level below, or better yet, make that a level above. Like you got your program, do it a little bit more of like an open gym, facilities like yours. I know it's a little bit of a reach sometimes scheduling wise, but that was something that always spoke to me when you had the type of equipment that your types of gym have, racks, kettlebells, sandbags, whatever, all that stuff. But there was never any open gym access, and that was my schedule as an entrepreneur, largely being, kind of sometimes putting out fires here, putting out there. I could only get in when I can get in, and like programming, I didn't really need any help with. Yeah, I wanted someone to maybe write a program and check in on me on the program. But as far as getting in there and doing it, like it was going to get done. So like I wouldn't necessarily need a coach, physically there on my back, so maybe, I don't know, figuring out a way to, again, scheduling and all that stuff would be a little tricky, but.
Yeah, you would be a small percentage of like the clientele that we would see, because I think 85% of the people we're seeing, female moms, right, who just either got away from like the 24-hour fitness or like whatever, something like that, where they're tired of doing it on their own, right? So like they needed some accountability. So we have those kind of clients. We have some experienced clients that are like either jumping gym to gym, whatever it is, like that's cool too, right? There's an opportunity with program design that I think we might follow, probably in the year to come. But right now the focus is actually what we did with our team training, which is we went from large group to small group, which is the 8, right? Like we still offer 5 classes a day, but we released a schedule 24 hours in advance. And like, if you get a spot, you get a spot. If not, oh well. So that's our transition. Now it's like, we're not going to sell that type of membership anymore. All we're going to sell is like going old school now, packages. So like 10, 20 pack, and like you come in whenever there is spots, so that makes it to where the gym can still make income.
Yeah.
And you can still try out a service, but like, and you don't have to commit, you don't have to do our 12-month program or anything like that. Semi-private, you get a little more access, right? Like you get priority. So that's, again, that white glove, high touch.
And 10 to like 20 packs. How come you trying to, stay away from like reoccurring EFT or anything?
Well, for group it's hard because it's like, I can't promise somebody that I can't say unlimited access anymore when there's classes that are clearly full every single day.
Yeah.
So I feel unethically, not ethical for me to do that. I could, but for me, it's like, all right, this package is $250 or something like that. And you come in when you see there's time slots, on the app, and then you register and you come in. Cool. And when that's over, re-up. That kind of solves a problem for me on that service. But obviously the reoccurring is the semi-privates, where you are guaranteed 2 to 3 times a week with your coach in that semi-private time. And we can make it to the point where like we'll give you priority access. Maybe we can do that too.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time, obviously, to get out of this hole. But if we're charging like more than we did in the past with semi-privates, because I think a lot of people are seeking that out too. Like they want more of I don't want to be in a disgusting room with 30, 40 people sweating. Because regardless of what you think of the pandemic, like I think everyone's ways of seeing things are a little different because we've saw it every single day for 6 months now, right? Like I also don't want to go in a small room with 30 people. Like that's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
And it's, it's all on it's very cyclical, and I think a lot of these models were created not necessarily for the benefit of the consumer or the customer. Groups, like being in the fitness industry, like both of us, we know the conversations that are happening behind the scenes at these, workshops or URSA, whatever the hell it might be.
Yeah.
It's
more profitable.
Less
payroll.
One program versus, now each individual person getting a program. Like, come on, keep the lights on, keep your eyes open. That's what it is, Same thing with big box gyms, Planet Fitness. Like you need to understand the model and then ultimately decide whether or not that's the model that fits you. So those Planet Fitnesses, $10 memberships, banking on you not coming. 100%.
Yeah. It's just a way, like they can be profitable too, but they think like the front end to do that kind of gym, it's millions and millions of dollars. If you got that, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I bank on people coming in, It's like, that's why we're charging top dollar, which is like not even comparable to a $10 a month one, right?
I mean, makes sense, man. Makes sense. And, the crazy shit about all this stuff, this is the Barcode Collective, where we talk about, mind, body, business, and relationships. And like, largely a lot of it has been about the struggle with businesses. But what's crazy is like, this is a real dude. I'm a real dude. Mm-hmm. There's real life shit happening. Yeah, exactly. This guy's got married. It's like,
I know we talk about this crazy year, bought a house in February, March COVID, cool, and then supposed to get married, which we still are, thankfully. We're just going to go through it. That's in 2 weeks from when we're recording this, October 10th. So we got that expense, got the honeymoon expense. It's a crazy year, man. But again, it's one of those things we talk about where like, man, like, how much harder is another year from like, or any other year compared to 2020 going to be?
Right.
If we can get past this shit, like I feel very confident about any other obstacle that we face.
Definitely, man. Yeah, it's wild, man. So hats off to you, man, for sticking with it. Again, doubling down, investing and changing things up, getting creative, because that's where the excitement lies, man. Like, you lose a sense of purpose and you start getting depressed and you start saying like, what the fuck are we doing here? And then you start getting these moments of inspiration and creativity. Like I said, that most of the things that are exciting me right now is this podcast studio that we're doing. Going to have
beautiful.
Thank you, man. Yeah. New people coming in the door, new people to meet, but it's the future of what this can be to help pull all of this out. Because it is going to be relationships that are going to come out of here. There will be some back end marketing that comes out of here. We are going to get the right eyes and the right people coming in here, and we're going to be able to provide a service to them the entire time, and it just makes a lot of sense to me. So it's like those things are in my control. Yeah. That right there is in my control to get creative, put something together, even see how it's going to span out over these next few months. Yeah, I'm not one to put a number on revenue from it. We know generally what we hope to get from it, but it's like, I hate the like future forecasting. This is what we're going to hit in 3 months. Anywho.
No one can predict with this thing that we're going through. Yeah. Like no one has the answers to this. Like you have a guideline, but COVID has its own too. Yeah.
And then the thing that just really, I think is the biggest anxiety is like, what are the landlords thinking? What can we do? Because, like I said, we're so far in the hole, like I'm paying what I can when I can, but it's, they got people knocking on their door for their money too, and it's just like, at what point does everyone have enough? And it's like, I know for a fact that I'm doing more than a lot of their other tenants with a lot less. So that's what I'm just hoping. And like, I think me getting in my head and like imagining what the conversation is going to be like every month is the worst, because when I do have that conversation, it's really not all that bad.
Right.
But, so that's a lesson there, takeaway is like, don't, go too deep on the story that you're creating yourself until you actually have that conversation.
That's literally like what you talked about is literally like what's gotten me through all this, like from mental clarity aspect, an anxiety aspect where like I don't have a whole lot. It's like that little saying is control the controllables, right? Because a lot of people are making up stories of things that could potentially happen that probably never do.
Yeah.
And like that has worked wonders for me, especially with society the way it is right now. It's very easy to get pissed off about anything, but for me, it's like I got a control of what's important to me, which number one is my relationship at home. Number two, me. And number three, like my business, not necessarily in that order or whatever, but like those are the most important things in my life. And I'm controlling like certain outcomes that I can probably predict that are going to happen based on what I'm doing, based on the habits, based on the action steps, right? Like, and that's me putting in the work, right? I feel like I don't have the time to create stories that like, oh shit, like what about if this happens? Like, God, that's going to be really scary. Like, I could lose more money or I can do this. It's like, it's very easy to put yourself in a dark hole, man. And then like be utterly depressed and then going away from your zone of genius, and like I don't want to be in that state because I got people to show up for, man.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Cause it literally is a 30-day thing, where it's like, all right, like what is it, the 23rd? So this is when it starts really knocking on the door because I want to get ahead of all these conversations. Be like, look, this is where we're at with revenue. We're trending up. These are the things that I think are going to get us through this in the future, because they're not going to turn around and be like, oh, you know what? Next 6 months, don't worry about paying rent. Put it on the back end of this 10-year fucking lease. You know, they're not going to just do that because they know, okay, what's the chances of you actually surviving this? You know, we're just delaying and giving you free stuff when it's inevitable that you're going to just not make it anyways. Mm-hmm. So like, I got to get ahead of that conversation. Be like, this is what I can do. This is, more importantly, this is what I'm trying to do for these next few months so that we can actually get to this point of paying full rent. And hopefully hoping that they see that, because they're not health and fitness people, you know? So when I'm speaking about some of these projects that I got in my mind, they ain't got a damn clue. Their response to me is hire young, really beautiful girls and put them on the sidewalk, you know, giving samples of smoothies. Like, that's what I'm up against, you know? And it's like, you know, not at all what we're about at the Fit Bar, right? So it's like, I got to go over and beyond to create and show value and show them that this is what it is. And now I'm over here as someone who doesn't really like to answer to too many people, having to answer to these motherfuckers who don't got a clue of what's happening. You know what I mean? And it's like, but it is what it is, man. Yeah. It is what it is. But yeah, so like this time of month gets a little crazy for me in the head. And then as soon as I figure it out, you know, the first or the second, I'm like, weight lifted, creativity mode again, optimism's back. And then 15th, oh shit, payroll. And then, you know, so it's like a little dip there. And then, but the obviously end of month with rent and payroll due, it's just like, God damn.
Yeah, I hear that, man.
Figure it out.
That's all we can do. I mean, again, you know, control the controllables. And I mean, it's like, the thing is about what you're doing here and what you're trying to create, like, you don't stop working on it. And that's the thing, is like that gets compensated, you know, some way, somehow, right? Like, hard work doesn't get unnoticed, right? So, you know, when you talk to these people, right, like it's just showing them, like, here are the things that we've been working on. Here's what we project, da da da. That's all you can do. Yeah, you can't do anything much more than that, for sure. Right? So, I don't know. That's kind of what's helping me out.
Yeah, well, let's leave them with that, man. Control the controllables. Let people know where they can find you, where Faster Fitness is, and, you know, maybe even, just all the information you're putting out there,
for sure, man. So Faster Fitness is in Fullerton. You can check us out on fasterfitnessoc.com. And then if you want to follow me personally, The Transformation Expert on IG, I'm very present on that platform. So,
but don't hit him up for the next few weeks, because he's getting married, honeymoon. That is he's true. Disconnected.
Next 3 weeks, hopefully. I'm out.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, thanks for spending a few minutes with us in the new studio. If you'd listen to this on audio, wherever podcasts are found, I recommend you going to the IGTV and getting a look at this friggin' lighting and these neons that just came from China right now. They actually just came in today. But until next time, we are out of here. Shout out to Operations Podcast for all that they do with in the podcast world and helping edit some of this stuff. So if it looks good, it's because they helped me edit it. If it looks like shit, it's because I produced this too late and I did it myself. But until next time, guys, we're out of here.